or anything like that, but I want us to start off with a little vocalizing.
Oh, okay.
And then we could take it from there. We've all read this scene.
I have.
Do you have a hard copy? Or do you have a copy of it?
I had to write it down because I don't have a printer, but I wrote it down.
That's the best way. Because it really puts it into your kinesthetic system.
Oh, ain't that the truth?
I used to do that a lot. I would write down the whole text by hand in a notebook, the whole play. I got that from an old actor, Sir Ralph Richardson. He used to do that. I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it. And I found out that there's something very useful about slowing down, chunking slow. And that's extremely important, especially when you're doing something like Shakespeare, which is kind of archaic to our ears. And I believe there's a great value in just giving attention to each word. And when you do that, you start to be a little bit more sensitive to what's happening in between those different clusters of words. Because I think our tendency is to take little phrases or chunks of meaning and string them all together. But I think that what happens when we do Shakespeare is I think there's a tendency to reach conclusions about what it means too quickly. And so we just are presenting our audience with our conclusions rather than the discovery. Oh, she doth hang upon the cheek of night as doth a jewel in an Ethiop's ear, too rich for use, for earth too dear. It's a very complex image. An Ethiop's ear, a jewel in an Ethiop's ear. An Ethiop is a black person. So Shakespeare's contrasting the dark skin of a black person and a jewel in that person's ear, and comparing that with, and that Juliet hangs upon the cheek of night, as doth the jewel in an Ethiop's ear. That's a comparison, and that's a simile. Now, is the audience going to get all that? Probably not, unless the actor gets it. And I think if the actor does get it, has gone through a process of like what I would call reverse engineering, where you take the language apart and then you put it, and then you reconstruct it. Having done that, taking it apart and putting it back together, I believe that gives the audience, you're giving the audience a really special gift. And I'm giving you this example because I was talking with a friend of mine while waiting for a plane, and she was going back to LA, and I was she was a psychologist, and I was getting out of the area of therapy because I found it too limiting for me. You know, fixing people who are broken basically is your premise in therapy, and you charge a lot of money to do that. I said, I just think more and more that strikes me as bullshit. And I quoted that line I just quoted you guys from, it's Romeo's line. And I said, that simile that Shakespeare came up with, and fast forward hundreds of years later to Einstein, young teenager, imagining that he's on a beam of light. He's straddling a beam of light with a mirror, and he's at the edge of that beam, and he has a mirror that he's extended over the edge. And his question is, would my image show up in that mirror if I were at the edge of that beam of light? Now try that image out. Imagine you're an adolescent boy sitting on a beam of light. How does that feel? For me, is there anything else about that beam of light that I'm straddling? that I'm riding upon? Well, it feels really nice, really warm. I can feel that acceleration, and I cannot help but think there's a little bit of the erotic in there.
Yeah, right.
And I believe this was Einstein's process. When he grew up, of course, he was obsessed by the question about light and what it was. And most of his theories, he claimed, came out of what he called the kinesthetic awareness. So I had this question, I posed this question to my friend in that airport. I said, and what's Shakespeare, the relationship between Shakespeare's internal process and Einstein's internal process? That's what I'm interested in. I don't care about fixing broken people anymore. And that's what's bringing me, and 10 years later, here we are. And we're having these interesting conversations at Cosmos, and we've explored quantum poetics, and we've worked with clean language, and we're very interested in the relationship between the critic and the visionary and the realist. So that's what brings me here today with you guys, because I saw something in both of you in our conversations recently, which suggested to me, you're ready for Romeo, and you're ready for Friar Lawrence. I just saw these qualities, and I want to show you, this is what I know about Romeo. And this is what I know about the hermit. This is Friar Lawrence, excuse me.
Yes, right.
It comes from the major arcana.
Yes.
And I think there's, these are my associations. You may have totally different associations. And so what I wanted to do after we do a little vocal warm-up is to, and get really sort of in touch with our bodies, our body minds, is to go through the text. And I would like to hear about your feelings around the words. And I would ask you some clean questions, which would invite you to use your own imagination, your own kinesthetic, auditory, visual process, whatever that is for you. So does that sound good to you guys?
Sounds excellent to me.
Great. And maybe we'll know something about the process of Shakespeare. We may even know a little bit about the process of Einstein. I hope so. That may be a little ambitious, but we'll find out.
Let's go for it.
Okay. Is there anything before we start, for this session to be really useful for you, Doug? This session will be like what?
Before I contemplate that, I'll do a quick check-in, which maybe will help with the character of Romeo, because he's coming from what sounds like a late night of adventure, a sleepless night. I had a sleepless night, maybe 3 or 4 hours, so I'm running on minimal fuel. There was no teenage love going on in the background. It's just simply lack of sleep. But for this to be useful for me, I'm feeling my slow doldrum day becoming more lively even before we start here.
The slow doldrum day becoming more lively? And is there anything else about more lively?
Yeah, it's a natural occurrence. I feel it rising at the moment right now.
And a natural occurrence and rising. And when rising, whereabouts rising?
I've hopped on my beam of light, so it's in my loins, and now it's coming up, spreading up. So.
In your loins and spreading up. Thank you. And Michael, for this session to be really useful for you, this session will be like what?
Speaking with the voice of my heart, my brain, and my gut all at once.
Ah, speaking with my heart, my brain, and my gut all at once?
With my voice, using my voice as a medium for all three.
Thank you. And for me, for this session to be really useful, I want to entwingle
I love that word.
with each of you.
I love that word.
I just got it from somebody recently. She's a student of psychedelics and language. She's studying the use of psychedelics and language.
Mm-hmm.
And she coined that expression, entwingle. And I like it.
I like it too. I like it too. It's a nice spin on entangled.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's do a little warm up. Can we thump our chest? You can use your fist or you can use your tips of your fingers. As you breathe, relaxed breath. Entwingling. And we can move it up here. Tap your forehead gently. And now your ears. Oh, you have the earplugs on, but if you want it, they're a little, if you press into your earlobes, you'll find there are little pressure points. It's very sensitive there. Wakes up your auditory. You can put your fingers in your ears. And move to your jaw. Relaxing the jaw. And if you feel a yawn coming on, that's a good sign. Oh. There's that little hinge between the jaw and the cheekbone.
Mm-hmm.
There's a sweet spot there. If you hit it just right, you'll feel that yawn coming up. Oh. Yeah, I'm entwingling now. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So let's make a few, let's start with good. You, why, we. You, why,
Why
we.
we.
You,
Why
we. You, why,
we.
you, why. We're exaggerating this sound a little bit. It's a you, why, we.
Okay.
There's a transition between, and if you like prolong that transition, you may start to hear some overtones. And that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Take a deep breath. You can speed it up or slow it down, whoever way.
I like the overtones.
You what?
I didn't pick up on the overtones there.
Good. Now let's just use the vowel sound, V, and let it vibrate your viscera, your gut. And take a deep breath and just prolong the tone as long as you can in a relaxed way. Can you feel the gut vibrating? So now, on the V sound, va.
It's staying stuck in my chest, just below my heart.
It's stuck in your chest, right
Just
below your heart.
below my heart. It won't go all the way down.
Okay, just relax into it. Okay. It's a gentle. It can be a very gentle V sound.
Yeah, ever so subtle. It's made it down to the gut. It's just real subtle.
So you made it down to the gut. How about you? What about you? Did you feel it too, Doug?
That comes naturally to me, I suppose, or the location there.
So this is sort of like a biofeedback. So the sound actually lets you know where there may be tension or where there's relaxation in the body, and you can play around with that. Okay. So thank you all very much for that warm up. And you could of course do this for an hour, and you will be twingling intensely. But I think we've got to warm up. We're more in touch with the gut, the heart, the brain. So do you have the text in front of you?
I do.
Thank you. You got it in front of you. How are you reading off of the computer? Do you have a hard copy?
Mine is not handwritten. I have it right here. The computer screen is here.
Okay.
Okay.
I hope you can read a few lines from the scene previous. We're in, this is scene 3, act 2. Romeo has just finished. How well do you guys know this play? Have you seen it performed, or have you read the play before?
I've only seen the movie, so that's not the same thing.
But you know it. You know
I know. I don't know the character of Father Lawrence. I have to say that. I don't know that part.
But you have the sense of the play as a whole. You've seen
Well,
it.
yeah. And reading it, I definitely followed your instruction of sensing the words around this character.
And how about you, Doug? How familiar are you with this play?
I am not familiar with Shakespeare other than high school type of knowledge.
Okay, good. So you're pretty, so it's a beginner's mind here. But you know the scene that is previous to this one. The play's been on for about maybe 45 minutes. We're about 45 minutes into the play. This is the first time we meet Friar Lawrence. We know Romeo, and we've just seen him in his great love duet with Juliet. And at the end of that love duet, he has a little speech after Juliet has exited. Do you see that in front of you? Can you see that on your screen? Doug? Romeo, I'm going to call you Romeo from now. You both auditioned and you both won the role, okay?
This is what begins Good Morrow, Father? Is that correct?
No,
Or
a line above that. We're still in the end of the previous scene. So it's Act 2, Scene 2. Juliet has just exited. Can you see that on your screen? This is why I love a hard copy in front of you. It's a very different energy for me.
I don't remember that being part of what you sent us, though.
No, I'm making this up, but I think it's important to know
Okay.
what happened right before this scene.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I agree.
so, but he just had scars that never felt a wound.
No, I'll do it. Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. He's talking to Juliet. She's just left the stage. They've just fallen in love. They've agreed to get married. This is moving very quickly. Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly father's close cell, his help to crave, and my dear hap to tell. And I'm slowing it down intentionally, and I want to just dwell on each word, okay? And so enter Friar Lawrence alone with a basket. Friar Lawrence alone with a basket. And in the previous few lines, as Romeo is exiting the stage from that great duet with Juliet, he lets the audience know, I will to my ghostly father's close cell to help, his help to crave, and my dear hap to tell. And I would like to ask, is there anything else about that cell, Friar Lawrence's cell? I'm going to ask you, Friar Lawrence.
Okay, so
Does that cell have a size or a shape?
okay, so you're referring to the soliloquy, John, right?
We're starting that, yeah. But it has to happen somewhere.
Yeah,
And-
yeah. Well, okay, because I thought we were starting with Romeo and Friar Lawrence.
We were, but he doesn't have the text in front of him, and I wanted to ask him a question about
Okay.
my ghostly father's cell.
Uh-huh.
So there is a place, and it's Father Lawrence's cell. He calls him a ghostly father. And I was very curious about that. But I don't want to do it if Doug doesn't have the text in front of him. So, but I wanted to set this up because
Okay.
it's going from one scene into another scene.
Mm-hmm.
This is helpful, and I have it in front of me now.
Oh, okay. Would you read it out loud? Could you do it really slowly and each word at a time?
Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace, so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly friar's close cell, his help to crave and my dear hap to tell.
Thank you. I to my ghostly, what does your edition say?
Friars.
Okay. So we have several different editions. Yours says friars, mine says sires, and another edition I read said friars. So this is one of the problems editors of Shakespeare have. They have, because there's so many different variations. What I'm drawn to is that is ghostly friars, close cell. And I to my ghostly friar's close cell. And I, what kind of I is that I, Romeo?
I, the I. Has something to say.
I,
The,
could you
the
say that?
I, the I is one that has something to say.
Ah, the I has something to say. And is there anything else about that something that I has to say?
It goes along with the beam of light that that I is riding on a beam of light. And
That I is riding on a beam of light. Thank you. And Friar Lawrence with a basket. And whereabouts, or does that cell, Friar Lawrence, have a size or a shape?
Yeah. Probably no bigger than 10 by 10
Ah,
or a stall for horses
ah,
with hay. It's not large, but it's not extremely small. It's surrounded by stone with just a small window facing more than likely east, with a wooden door, heavy oak, iron.
a wooden door, heavy oak, iron, and a window, a small window, east, and stone, and hay on the floor. And is there anything else about that ghostly cell?
It smells like mildew. It smells like earth that's wet.
Ah, mildew and earth that's wet. Thank you. I think we're getting into the imaginal area here. Stone, small window, east, wooden door, heavy oak, iron, smells of mildew and earth, and basket. Is there anything else about basket?
Basket is a friend that I take with me outside my cell to meander on the property.
Ah. And when a friend I take with me and meander about the property, is there anything else about that property when meander with that friend you take with me?
It's luscious and erotic at the same time.
Ah, luscious and erotic at the same time. This is very interesting. I want to show you something that I found. He says in the speech, I must upfill this osier cage of ours. He's referring to his basket as an osier cage.
Mm.
This I found out is what osier is. It's willow.
Ah,
So he has, this is his basket, is what he calls his cage. Your friend is made of this.
ah,
I love that. Isn't that cute? You know, I
yeah.
had it in my apartment and I looked this up in the dictionary. And so this is my research that I'm offering. But I think this is great because we're getting something tactile and we're getting smells and mildew and earth. And we get a sense of where the friar is located and where Romeo is going to visit. And is there anything else you know about Friar Lawrence, about the cell, Friar Lawrence? I'm asking you, Friar Lawrence.
There is a feeling of it being an extension of one's own body.
Ah, an extension of one's own body. And could you, why don't we just do the first line, and well, we're going to do the first sentence. You'll notice that there's commas, and there's, it looks like there's a period after flowers. So it goes from the gray-eyed morn through precious juiced flowers. That's one sentence.
Wow. Wow.
Wait, I may be wrong. I have the difference is.
I thought Wheels, Fury Wheels was
Okay.
the.
Okay, yeah, okay, there's a period there. See, I'm looking at several different editions, and that may be a mistake because they're all punctuated differently. I've noticed.
Yeah, right. This is when I just copied off of what you sent.
Great, so we'll go by that one. So it looks like that's the end of that sentence. And so you have two commas, and that's just to give you a sense of structure. The punctuation in Shakespeare is about holding the meaning together. And what if we just start with that sentence and go slow so we can hear each word? Is that okay with you, Michael?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. The gray-eyed morn smiles on the frowning night, checkering the eastern clouds with streaks of light, and flecked darkness like a drunkard reels from forth day's path and Titan's fury wheels.
I would say
I just want to intersperse something. It's just a self-consciousness.
please.
With my speech, in the sense of not only with Shakespeare but any words, I struggle with pronunciation and enunciation, John.
I think you should use that for this character.
Okay.
Maybe
Thank you.
Friar Lawrence has that issue as well.
Okay.
He's a very smart guy, obviously.
Yeah.
But I also think he may have, what did you use? Luscious and erotic? Those are interesting contrasts. And
Are you there, John? You're frozen.
in that sentence.
You froze for a minute, so can you repeat? You
I'm
froze.
sorry.
Yeah,
My
that's
internet is a little wobbly. I apologize.
okay.
So what are you most drawn to, Friar Lawrence, in that sentence?
Actually, the first sentence, the gray-eyed morn smiles on the frowning night.
Ah,
That opening sentence just gives me a tone of where he might be going. I won't say where he's going, but where he might be going.
and a tone
Yeah.
of where it might be going. And is there anything else about where he might be going?
Yeah, it seems like it seems like the gray-eyed morn smiles. Seems like he's not afraid of wherever he's going.
Huh?
There's no fear or anxiety about it. Just because he smiles at the frowning night.
I like it. In twingling. I'm in twingling. And I'm going to ask you, this is a very intricate speech. There's a
Yeah.
lot going on here.
Yes.
He's looking at the herbs he's bringing them out of his basket, and he's talking about their qualities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm spoiling the plot a little bit. Later on, he delivers to Juliet a potion which will make her look as if she's died,
Oh,
so
wow.
that he can rescue her later, so that Romeo, who's been banished because he killed Tybalt. It's very complicated.
Yeah.
And the star-crossed lovers are separated.
Mm-hmm.
And so Friar Lawrence uses one of his mastery. Knows all about herbs
Mm-hmm.
and their healthy properties and the properties and their poison. They
Yeah,
can be
right.
well. So he's talking about that in this speech, which almost sets you into definitely a tonality here. And later on, we see Friar Lawrence making a choice about how he's going to use his understanding of herbology and flowers and different mixtures, and to give this potion to Juliet so she can escape. They think she's dead, so they put her in a tomb. And the plan is that Romeo is going to rescue her.
Mm.
That doesn't work out, unfortunately.
Oh, wow. Oh,
But
wow.
I'm just sharing this because I would like you to skip down, if you will, to that last sentence. I think it starts with, well, I hate to break this up apart because it's so beautiful, but he's contemplating the poison and the medicinal. But this is what he's ruminating on as Romeo enters.
And where is that sentence you're sending me? Because I had to copy this in 2 pages, so it's kind of.
Yeah, I apologize for not being a little more. I just don't want to rush through this big speech. This is something we can work on for a whole hour.
I just want to orientate myself of where you're at.
Yeah, could we skip down to, I think it's in man as well as herbs, grace and rude will, and where the worser is predominant, full soon the canker death eats up that plant. Could you find that? Then
This is what I have. In man as well as herbs, grace and rude will, and where the worser is predominant. Is that where you're at?
yes.
Okay.
Full, and the last line you got?
Yeah, I have the last line too.
Could you give me that whole bit there?
Okay. In man as well as herbs, grace and rude will, and where the worser is predominant, full soon the canker death eats up that plant.
Great. And Romeo enters. Romeo,
Good morrow, Father.
Romeo, what do you want to have happen? And you you were writing on that beam of light, right?
And it's a beam of light that is shooting out, projecting these bright ideas or bright reflections into what can be. Life is good. Life is better than it has ever been, and this beam of light needs to be achieved, or it will be done. It's purposeful. So that's where I am right now. That's where Romeo is right now.
Thank you. So once again, let's just take the dialogue. The dialogue is beginning between Romeo and Friar Lawrence. We're in the cell. We have a small stone window to the east, wooden door, heavy oak, smells, mildew, earth. An extension of Friar Lawrence's body. And now there's a relationship Friar Lawrence has with Romeo. And with all of that, bringing that with you and that beam of light, let's just take slowly this dialogue together, okay? Go for it, Michael, or Friar Lawrence, go for it.
Okay, so after he said good morrow, Father, that I'm picking up that. Do you want me to do that whole thing?
Yeah, why don't we go back to the end of that speech, and a little higher on the line up above, it says, two such opposed kings encamp them still, in man as well as herbs, grace and rude will. I sort of want to get those rhymes in, because we're going to start a sequence of rhymes between Romeo and Friar Lawrence, which I think is very playful and interesting and challenging for us modern actors to deal with outrageousness of all of these rhymes, which are just starting to happen. Do you see where I'm at, Michael? It's two such opposed kings.
Is that in the soliloquy?
Yes, the end of the soliloquy.
At the end of this, I said that line. That was the end, as far as I know. Where's
okay. A little up above, it says, two such opposed kings encamp them still, in man as well as
okay,
earth.
I'm trying to find that line. Oh, shoot. I wonder if I even, maybe oh, I found it. So, okay, now I find it. Okay.
Okay, take it from there.
Okay, two such opposed kings encamp, then still, in man as well as herbs, grace and rude will. And where the worser is predominant, full soon the canker death eats up that plant. And then it's Romeo, right?
Good morrow, Father.
Benedict,
Good morrow, Father.
Benedictite, what early tongue so sweet selleth me? Young son, it argues a distempered head. So soon to bid good morrow to thy bed. Care keeps his watch in every old man's eye. And where care lodges, sleep will never lie. But where unbruised youth with unstuffed brain doeth crouch his limbs their golden sleep doeth reign. Thou art up aroused by some distemperature, or if not so, then here I hit it right. Our Romeo hath not been in bed tonight.
That last is true. The sweeter rest was mine.
Good pardon sin, wast thou with Rosaline?
With Rosaline, my ghostly father, no. I have forgotten that name, and that name's woe.
That's my good son, but where hast thou been then?
I'll tell thee, ere thou ask it me again. I have been feasting with mine enemy, whereon a sudden one hath wounded me. That's by me wounded both our remedies. Within thy help and holy psychic lies. I bear no hatred, blessed man, for lo, my intercession likewise steads my foe.
Be plain, good son, and homely in thy drift. Riddling confession finds but riddling shrift.
Then plainly know my heart's dear love is set on that fair daughter of rich Capulet. As mine on hers, so hers is set on mine. And all combine, save what thou must combine. By holy marriage, when and where and how we met, we'd wooed and made exchange of vow. I'll tell thee as we pass, but this I pray, that thou consent to marry us today.
Holy Saint Francis, what a change is here! Is Rosaline, whom thou didst love so clear, so soon forsaken? Young men's love then lies, not truly in their hearts, but in their eyes. Jesua Maria, what a deal of brine hath washed thy shallow cheeks for Rosaline. How much salt water thrown away in waste to season love, that of it doeth not taste. The sun not yet dies, sighs from heaven clears, thy old groans ringing in my ancient ears, of an old tear that is not washed of yet. If ever thou wast thyself in these woes thine, thou and these were all for Rosaline. Yeah. Rosaline. And art thou changed? Pronounce this sentence then. Women may fall when there's no strength in men.
Thou chidest me oft for loving Rosaline.
Fat doting, not for loving pupil mine.
And bats me very love.
Not in a grave to lay one in, another out to have.
I pray thee chide not she whom I love now. Doth grace for grace and love for love allow. The other did not so.
Oh, she knew well. Thy love did read by rote and could not spell. But come, young waverer, come, go with me. In one respect, I'll thy assistant be. For this alliance may so happy prove to turn your household's rancor to pure love.
Oh, let us hence. I stand on sudden haste.
Wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast.
Thank you. Oh, I just mentioned to turn your household's rancor to pure love. I don't know if you remember, but Capulet and Montague, these two houses, have been in conflict with one another, and they've had feuds. And the prince who rules the city of Verona has said, if you have another feud, if you have another street brawl, whoever starts it, they're going to die. I'm sick of these riots, no more. And I think this is a temptation that these two warring factions, they're breaking out in fights all over the city, and they're both going to be in real big trouble. They're going to be in deep shit with the prince if anyone starts another brawl. So we're hearing Friar Lawrence. She's a Capulet. Romeo is a Montague. So, okay, let's get these two young people married, and maybe then there will be an alliance formed, and this will be a happy ending. I think this is what Friar Lawrence is suggesting by his agreeing to do this. So that's just to give you a sense of the plot, where the plot is going here. And we're also dealing with character and relationship. So Romeo, now that we've gone through this once, what are you most drawn to in this scene?
As the character, not as Doug, not as Doug analyzing, but I'm really drawn to Friar Lawrence, but Romeo is not necessarily drawn to Friar Lawrence.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
That the sole purpose, which he states near the end, where's my line?
I'm sorry, where are you?
Yeah, the last line of Romeo, "Oh, let us hence, I stand on sudden haste." So that he's still projecting into the future. He's still, he's not fully concerned with much words that Friar Lawrence is saying, other than, well, that's an old flame, here's my new flame, let's take care of this now. And
an old flame. Rosaline is the old flame. And then there's a new flame, the fair daughter of rich Capulet. Is there anything else about fair daughter of rich Capulet?
it's more risque. I don't fully know the story, but as Romeo, I know I don't have the same intentions as Friar Lawrence. I'm in this solely for love, perhaps glancing over or neglecting the conflict, the more conflict that will occur once this marriage comes into play.
And solely love. And whereabouts is that love? Is there a size or a shape?
As I've traveled from the beginning of my conversation with Friar Lawrence, I have it's coming up, it's arising. So I imagine myself running through the night to get to where I am standing in this cell, and the running needs to continue. So it's there's a beating of the heart. There's not much head action going on. The loins are tired, and so it's the torso.
And a running and a beating of the heart. And fair daughter of rich Capulet. And when fair daughter of rich Capulet, does that fair daughter have a size or a shape?
She's tiny. Something. She's been locked into the heart space.
Ah, she's tiny, and she's locked into the heart space.
Elton John's Tiny Dancer. He's holding in his hand.
Just say that again. Where is it? Can you point to it, or where is it?
It's in Romeo's hand. It's in thine hand. This young lady. I'm holding her close to my heart.
And this young lady, tiny, near your heart, in your hand. And Rosaline, whereabouts? Is there anything else about Rosaline?
She keeps coming up in this conversation, and she needs to be buried in her grave at this time. She's being trampled underfoot on this damp earth as I run along with my new love.
I think you looked a little bit to your left when I asked you about Rosaline. And so whereabouts is Rosaline when she's trampled and buried?
Mm-hmm. So I guess when I was looking to the left, I was thinking of in the process of moving. I am standing up right now, so I can jump. So I'm actually stepping past, maybe not on her, but trying to step beyond her while Friar Lawrence recalls this old flame.
Okay. So you're in the process of putting Rosaline behind you. And in your hand, there's the fair daughter of Capulet, this Juliet, the woman you intend to marry. And there's a hand-heart relationship. Am I getting this correct?
Yes.
Romeo? Okay. And is there anything else about Rosaline and Juliet?
So I haven't even mentioned Juliet's name. That doesn't seem important.
That doesn't seem important.
No.
And Holy Mary. Is there anything else about holy marriage?
The holy part is more of the exchanging of the vow. It's more of the mentioning of the holy. It's not necessarily that marriage. It's this feeling, the exchange of the vows, the movement to get this holy marriage over with. So the holy, a term that can be excluded. I don't know why I said it.
Okay, thank you. I just want to keep our time frame here. You have to leave at what time?
I like to end by 12 because my son will be here at 12:15 and I have to get ready for.
Okay, so I have 2:30 here. So what does that mean? Do we have
a half hour? We have a half hour. We have a half. John, before you go further, I need to take a mini break, if you know what I mean. I'll be right back.
Please make yourself comfortable. Um, I think we could look at that one speech. Um,
with the holy marriage.
if you want to go there, that's fine. Where would you like to start? While Michael is taking his break. Or what are you most drawn to?
As Romeo, yeah, I'd like to read that segment there. I'll tell thee, ere thou askest me again, I have been feasting with mine enemy, where on a sudden one hath wounded me, but that's by me wounded both are remedies. Within thy help and holy psychic lies. I bear no hatred, blessed man, for lo, my intercession likewise steads my foe.
I'm back.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you. My bladder is giving me old age problems.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. So there's a lot going on here. Holy Saint Francis. I wonder if you can see.
You froze again, John. Come back to us. Come back, come back.
So you mentioned the word holy, and he was taken.
Right on. John, are you there?
It's the rapture.
Yeah. He did say something about his internet connection, right? John, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Now I can. You froze, and we were saying it happened just when you said holy.
Yeah. Saint Francis doesn't want me to move him. But it's an image of Francis, and he has the bird right here at his heart.
Okay.
It's an iconic statue. I mean, it's a very famous looking one. But anyway, I just mentioned that because Friar Lawrence mentions Holy Saint Francis. I assume he's a Franciscan. But anyway, why don't we take it from the top? We enter in, and we'll read it one more time. And then once again, the feelings and the words.
Okay.
Whatever feelings happen with the words.
Okay.
And we won't do this today, but you may be aware of a beat. As I was walking down the street, a pretty girl I did meet. It's Iambic Pentameter. We're not going to go into that too much today about the meter, but if you listen, you can sense it.
Okay.
It's a weak followed by a stressed syllable.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't always land just perfectly. But I remember I did Measure for Measure. I did two different productions of Measure for Measure. Once I played the villain called Angelo, and the other production I played the protagonist or the hero, Claudio. But I remember, so I knew the play well because I'd been in it before, but I was asked to join a production that had already started. It was close to opening. And I had to join the cast very quickly and learn a part that I didn't know, but I knew the play really well. But so when I entered in, we were getting close to dress rehearsal, so I had to learn this really fast. But I remember I just came in and I watched the production. And I remember everyone was really polished performers, and they were really on top of everything. And I remember what saved me from getting overwhelmed by, oh my God, I don't know what to do here. Everyone else they know all their lines and they know they know their roles and they're getting ready to perform. And I'm just joining the cast, right? But what I got was, and I had this beautiful speech: to die and go we know not where, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot, the sensible warm motion to become a kneaded clod, and the delighted spirit to bathe in fiery floods, or to reside in thrilling region of thick-ribbed ice, to be imprisoned in the viewless winds and blown with restless violence round about the pendant world, or to be worse than worse, that those in lawless and uncertain thought imagine howling, 'tis too horrible, the weariest and most, anyway, it goes on and on, but what I'm saying is, I got the beat.
You
Die
got
and
the
go we know not where, to lie in cold obstruction and to rot, the sensible warm motion to become a kneaded clod. So it's the meter is there for a reason. It's not prose and it's not chatty. And if you catch that, it'll save your ass. You don't have to worry about emotional complexities or psychological density. Just catch that beat. It's much more like a rap, rap artists getting together. And especially in this scene, because there's so much rhyme. but
I have a question between.
Sure.
But, sorry to interrupt, but with Romeo, he seems to be very chipper, lively, ready to go. But Friar Lawrence he's maybe at half rhythm to Romeo's rhythm.
Yeah,
That's right.
he is.
So how would
That's
that
right.
work?
That's excellent. That's an excellent observation. And how will that work? That's part of your.
I guess that's our interpretation, at least for this time around.
Well, and that's the tension. That's the tension in the scene. That's the tension in the scene. That's right. Where the tension is coming from. Is what you just described, Doug. And that's the way I take it. That's the way I've gotten it.
So you can catch a rhythm, or you can resist a rhythm.
Yeah, right.
You could drop the rhythm and do another rhythm. That's interesting. Thank you, Doug. That's great.
And Friar Lawrence seems to be stilting or intertwingling at his own pace. Romeo's pace. He's interjecting. He keeps bringing up his old flame. He's like, wait a minute. Let's not talk about her. Let's go this direction. And he's saying, it's more methodical, step by step. But yeah, I guess we can read it again and see what happens.
And how old is Romeo?
He's
a teeny.
Not more than 15 or 16. Not more than that, if not younger.
And Juliet is probably about 13 or 14.
Yeah.
How old is Friar Lawrence?
I'm gonna say, because given the time of Shakespeare, he's probably 40, but in today's age, he'd be 80.
That's good to know. Before we read this again, what else do you know? Romeo, or Doug, or Michael, or Friar Lawrence. You can be both Friar Lawrence and Michael at the same time. You can be Romeo and Doug at the same time. It's a spectrum.
Yeah, thank you. Because one of the things that resonated with me with reading Friar Lawrence is the immediacy of, I have my son, I have my nephews, of me being in a similar role of his, of being an elder and listening to them coming to me and wanting to just give me their stories and maybe see what I could do. I just had a more, not about love, but an intense situation with one of my nephews where it just amazed me of how it intertwinkled with this scene, but not in terms of love, but of an elder or mentoring to young and old, trying to talk to each other across human experience. That's my gist of it.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. And with Romeo, I'm feeling, in relation to myself, both of us identify as the fool, but Romeo is not aware of the role that he's playing, I don't think. which the fool to a certain extent is not. But yeah, as I've played the fool, my life, yeah, I've learned to play that role as well as identify with other roles now. Yeah, that's all I need to say about that, I think.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Where are we going to start from? From Romeo's line, good moral father?
Could we go a few lines from the soliloquy, just so we get a sense of
Like we did before, all the way from two such opposed kings?
that would be great.
Okay.
And also, I just wanted to bring your attention to the there's a lot of rhyming going on here. I think the challenge here is you have to create these characters. Rhyming has to come like spontaneously, naturally. So I had a part where it was in Moliere, which is all right, which is entirely written in couplets, and it became incredibly monotonous very quickly if I was bringing attention to the rhyme. But if I just like, my word, when I regard myself, I find no reason for despondency of mind. I'm young, I'm rich, I'm of a family with some pretension to nobility, and through the rank that goes with my condition at court, I can aspire to high position. So there are all of those rhymes at the end of those lines. If I just moved through them as if I just speak in rhyme all the time, it somehow works.
Yeah.
But if you get really heavy and accent every rhyme, time, slime, crime, it's like the audience will be you'll put them to sleep. So it has if you move through them as if you speak in rhyme all the time, just like a rap star, it becomes incredibly witty. Just to let you know. That's just something as back.
Moliere do Scapino? Right.
I did a cast in I think it was The Misanthrope.
Well, the first play I did, I thought it was a Moliere play called Scapino, and I played Carlo the Bum. It just struck me.
Did you have to deal with a lot of rhyme in that?
No, actually, it was fortunate. I didn't have to say a freaking thing. I spoke with my body language.
Oh, cool. So it wasn't a speaking role?
No, but I had we're off topic a little bit, so I'll try to keep it short. But I was Carlo the Bum, and I was shining shoes while Scapino was trying to work with the two fathers. And it's very similar, like Romeo and Juliet, but from a Moliere, I think, point of view. And I was just coming in there on and off as the bum, the tramp. And they're at one of the meetings with one of the fathers, they're sharing food, and I'm under the table doing this. And this was not scripted. Scapino dropped a piece of bread, and I just picked it up and ate it, and the whole audience laughed. And the actor that plays Scapino, which he was a good guy, but when I got backstage, he said, "You upstaged me." I mean, he was just trying to point, he didn't do it in a mean way, but because actually, the director said, "That was perfect, Mike. You were right in the moment. You needed to do that." Because why wouldn't a bum pick up a piece of food that's dropped from heaven? Because she said you even looked like it was a gift from heaven.
And you got to laugh. Yeah,
and that laugh. You know about that, John? That can be spark.
It sure can. That's why we do this stuff. Thank you.
Anyway, thanks for listening.
That was great. And bring all the energy from your successful moments on stage. Bring all those learnings with you to this new text, which is very challenging.
Yeah.
So with all of this that you've learned, Romeo and Michael and Friar Lawrence and Doug, all these blendings between these different kinds of I, the personal pronoun I.
Intertwinglings.
And intertwingled. So why don't we start and just take your time.
Okay.
Enjoy each word. Find the rhythm, whatever comes up for you is fine. So why don't we just go through the whole thing?
Okay. Two such opposed kings encamp then still, in man as well as herbs, grace and rude will. And where the worser is predominant, full soon the canker death eats up that plant.
Good morrow, Father.
Benedictite, what early tongue so sweet saluteth me? Young son, it argues a distempered head, so soon to bid good morrow to thy bed. Care keeps his watch in every old man's eye, and where care lodges, sleep will never lie. But where unbruised youth with unstuffed brain doeth crouch his limbs, there golden sleep doeth reign. Thou art uproused by some distemperature, or if not so, then here I hit it right. Our Romeo hath not been in bed tonight.
Ah, that last is true. The sweeter rest was mine.
Good pardon, sin! Wast thou with Rosaline?
Rosaline.
With with Rosaline, my ghostly father, no. I have forgot that name and that name's woe.
That's my good son, but where hast thou been then?
I'll tell thee ere thou ask it me again. I have been feasting with mine enemy, where on a sudden one hath wounded me. That's by me wounded, both are remedies. With thy help and holy psychic lies, I bear no hatred, blessed man, for lo, my intercession likewise steads my foe.
Be plain, good son, and homely in thy drift. Riddling confession finds but riddling shrift.
And plainly know my heart's dear love is set on that fair daughter of rich Capulet. As mine on hers, so hers is set on mine. And all combined, save what thou must combine. By holy marriage, when and where and how we met, we wooed and made exchange of vow. I'll tell thee as we pass. But this I pray, that thou consent to marry us today.
Holy Saint Francis, what a change is here! Is Rosaline, whom thou didst love so clear, so soon forsaken? Young men's love then lies not truly in their hearts, but in their eyes. Joshua Maria, what a deal of brine hath washed thy shallow cheeks with Rosaline. How much salt water thrown away in waste. To season love, that of it doeth not taste. The sun not yet thy sighs from heaven clears. Thy old groans ring in my ancient ears of an old tear that is not washed of yet. If ever thou wast thyself and these woes thine, thou and these were all for Rosaline. And art thou changed? Pronounce this sentence then. Women may fall when there's no strength in men.
Thou chidest me oft for loving Rosaline.
Fat doting, not for loving, pupil mine.
And that's me bury love.
Not in a grave, to lie one in, another out to have.
I pray thee chide not. She whom I love now doth grace for grace and love for love allow. The other did not so.
Oh, she knew well thy love did read by no rote, and could not spell. But come, young waverer, come, go with me. In one respect, I'll thy assistant be, for this alliance may so happy prove to turn your household's rancor to pure love.
Oh, let us hence. I stand on sudden haste.
Wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast.
Great. Thank you, guys. That was very lively. I learned a few things in that second reading because I thought you were bringing out different qualities as you get more familiar with this text. Romeo, I'm very curious about, I think it's line 50. Could you start that speech again? And then we'll wrap it up because I know we're almost out of time. Are we out of time?
We got about 10 minutes, John.
Okay,
10
okay.
minutes.
I just want to hear that speech again, Romeo. Could you give that? I have been feasting with mine enemy.
Okay, let me.
In my text, it's around line 49, I think. Can you find it, Doug?
Having trouble. Don't know why.
I'll tell thee ere thou ask it me again. I have been feasting with mine enemy.
I'll tell thee ere thou ask it me again. I have been feasting with mine enemy. Where on a sudden one hath wounded me, that's by me wounded. Both are remedies within thy help and holy psychic lies.
Okay.
I bear no hatred, blessed.
Okay. I'm trying to figure this one out. So he went to the Capulet's house. He was in disguise. He's the enemy of the Capulet family. He's a Montague. So he went to this big party. He crashed the party. He had a mask on so no one knew him. So this is a lark. He just thought he would crash this party of his father's enemy. And what happens? He meets someone that he falls desperately in love with, and he finds out it's the daughter of his father's worst enemy. So I think there's a lot going on in that line. And I don't know and I didn't get it until I heard you read it the second time. Can you do that line again?
I'll tell thee ere thou ask it me again. I have been feasting with mine enemy, whereon a sudden one hath wounded me. That's by me wounded, both are remedies. Within thy help and holy psychic lies. I bear no hatred, blessed man, for lo, my intercession likewise steads my foe.
Thank you. I think that is holy physic lies. I may be wrong, but I think the physic rather than psychic. Although there may be a relationship between physic and psychic, but it's like a medicine. That Friar Lawrence has a medicine.
I have it typed here wrong.
It's the power to heal by performing the marriage rite. But I think there's something about wounded. Is there anything else about wounded? Wounded me wounded.
It reminds me of Cupid's arrow or something striking him. So the sudden, where on a sudden one hath wounded me, I assume would be the striking of love. That's by me wounded, both are remedies within thy help.
So who has wounded Romeo and who has Romeo wounded?
And Juliet, I suppose. I don't, unless it's referring to actual fisticuffs, which I don't think it is. But.
I have been feasting with mine enemy. Who is the enemy?
It's the Capulet.
That's right. Where on a sudden one hath wounded me, that's by me wounded. One hath wounded me. Who is that? Where is she?
That's she,
The one hath wounded you. One hath wounded me, that's by me wounded. When one hath wounded me, whereabouts wounded? Her size or shape?
it's a striking in the heart. It's like there, and it's intertwined, or no, this is the twingling. So it's almost like they've been pierced by an arrow, and they're both on the same arrow.
They've both been pierced, and they're both on the same arrow. That's great. That's great.
And
Is there anything else?
then the following line is the remedies, and rely on Friar Lawrence
That's right.
to, yeah.
That's right. So there's a lot going on in that little speech, and I believe it's moving by quickly. I think it's great that we've slowed it down, and word by word, and what's happening in between these words. And I congratulate both of you for these very fresh readings and giving me a chance to chunk down and chunk slow and go into this play that I dearly love. I played in this. I played, who did I play in this? I can't remember. Oh, I was the chorus. And I also played the apothecary, I believe, at the end of the play. Anyway, we have a few minutes left, and I know you have to go, Michael. And I really appreciate and applaud both of you for making this happen today. I think this is an artistic practice, and we have spiritual practices, we have artistic practices. I think we need to, I like us when we focus on practice, because we can get very top heavy with the theory here in this community. So I think it's great to have a community theater where we can get together and just work with an interesting scene or a poem or a snatch of dialogue, or any kind of text, really. So we can slow it down and we can, resonate and twinkle.
Yeah.
So thank you. Is there anything that you would like to, something that you learned today?
Well, I learned I still have the twinkling and twingling of acting, and what Paul, I can't pronounce his name, but Kearney quotes him a lot, of text to action, bringing the text to action, or action, text, action, that to me is a entwingling of theory and practice. And a lot of times we divide them, and I think we hesitate trying to make that move between, which I understand. It's hard. It's unnerving, uncomfortable. So I learned, or I was not so much learned, but I was re-inspired by this art form that I think has a very strong spiritual component from my point of view. I do have one question. Are we going to be able to, Doug, save this so that we can look at this just between us, or how's that work?
It's up to you guys. I don't mind making this public, but if you don't want to do that, that's okay too. Do you feel uncomfortable about making it public?
At this point, I would like a little more. In the future, I'm willing to. It's just right now, I'm not comfortable with it.
Fine. So we'll just make this available to all three.
I'll make and I can make a separate email thread just to start and see where a conversation follows from it, perhaps.
What about, could it be made
within the three of us?
What about within the community?
In the Hangout, yeah, within the community, just not public.
You don't want it on YouTube.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, not yet.
Okay, so we do it on Vimeo.
We could put it in the we could put it on the undercommons as well.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that feels better to me.
not to just anybody. That would be the core of us
Yeah,
that would want to review it anyways at this point.
yeah, they've the people that get to hang out, they've gone through the whatever, we have to go through to get to a certain level on the
Right.
site.
So this is within the community, the Cosmos community.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I just don't want it beyond the Cosmos community. Right now, I'm not ready.
YouTube. Okay, thank you for creating some good boundaries there, Michael. I'm glad to know that, and that's fine with me. And I don't know what the future of this will be. So I'm not like I don't have a real desired outcome beyond this, what we've done today. If there's an interest, we can continue it. I think there's a lot of skill building that I find very attractive about an artistic practice like this. It's to me about coming together and creating skills, building.
Right. And this is one thing I've always admired about theater. I've said it before is, I mean, I've been around community theater. It's been a while, but there's always the creative spark you have to work with personalities, but it's in a container where most people understand there's going to be sparks trying to get to a good doing our best. There's sparks.
This is a process.
Yeah.
And if we were to continue, I think there's another scene between Friar Lawrence and Romeo that is a quite famous one, and they pull out all the stops. I mean, it's a very intense scene. Romeo wants to commit suicide, and Friar stops him.
So it's the scene towards it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The next scene, Friar Lawrence marries Juliet and Romeo. Then there's a crisis where Romeo has been banished from Verona. So the woman he's just married, he's not supposed to see again. In those days, getting thrown out of a city was a very big deal. If you got thrown out of the city where you come from, you got nowhere. You're basically a vagabond.
Yeah, shunned.
Yeah, and so that was his fate. And so he would rather kill himself than go through the banishment and be separated from Juliet. And that's where Friar Lawrence has to snap him out of it and come up with this plan. When you're banished, he has to deal with Juliet, convincing her that he can, if she fakes a suicide, everyone thinks she's dead. He can hide her until she revives from that drug that he gives her, and Romeo can come rescue her. And so Friar Lawrence is really making it up as he goes along, but the plot really thickens for both of these characters. But at any rate, that would be a future orientation.
Well, I like the seed that we planted here, and just planting a seed of, like, I think if anything, I feel the framework planting a seed of this kind of creative way of learning communication with our feet on the stage, interacting with each other, if I can put it that way.
Right. Thank you. And I guess we're almost running out of time. So
yeah,
I know you've got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to close with what I learned and some
Yeah,
thoughts as well.
Please, Doug. I got some time. Go ahead.
I appreciated the exercises to open up. I didn't realize the almost similar to pressing here. Pressing on the ear does activate something there. So I'll explore that. I've not had any experience. I do perform these monologues, I think I mentioned before, as I'm driving. Not all the time, but when I'm in a musical mode, or it's almost like a active form of dreaming. Right there, the words come out. It's usually in rhyme, and it's not something I can publish unless I record it, which I don't want to do that while driving or anything. So I'm just singing to my own tune, and that's me when I'm creative at my best. That's what I imagine with oral culture, and we're doing that here. This is more oral, the creative side of it's stepping off away from the page, though we're reading off a script. So yeah, I'd like to see where this goes. I think it's a good first step, and thank you, John, for
Thank you,
another
John. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. My pleasure.
branch. It's another branching into.
Well, I think it's,
But it's a beam of light. It's not the. I think the beam of light that we were talking about. There's, we know where there's so much light to be shared.
yeah,
this
and
is
I
one
think
we haven't really explored.
we're sharing an imaginal reality.
Most definitely. That's my experience of this, is sharing. I feel safe going into the imaginal with both of you.
And I felt like we were in Friar Lawrence's cell today.
Oh, thank you.
I feel like I could smell the earth and the mildew, and I could get a feeling for entering into an imaginal shared reality. And that's good.
I'm sorry, John. I forgot to put a cot from a furniture store though in there.
So, and I think this can have a spillover effect, because when we can create shared realities and shared imaginal realities, I believe that there's a cross-fertilization that happens, and everyone's reality gets richer and more resonant and vibratory. And whether you're doing philosophy together or you're doing history, we're starting up a study group around the axial age at the end of the week, and we're thinking about that. So whatever you're studying together, I think this a theater, a sense of the theatrical and of the performance, I think really helps us ground and act, as you say.
Yeah.
There's something about action and making sense and then making meaning. We become better at theory when we have an actual.
No, thank you. And it's one of the things that I think that I appreciate. It's understanding theatrical, not in a demeaning code. No, it's one of the original arts that came through mankind to try to make sense of the world.
That's right.
And one of the things, I'm just going to tie it into the recent thread I've been working with, and I feel that's coming online, is working with the difference between self and other. And I'm other than you, but I'm a self, and that difference, and how I like Kearney making perfect clear. It's not about fusing selves and other. It's just creating the way I would language it, an acknowledgement there is a relational touching.
That's right.
And being touched without trying to fuse the difference that's happened, that is between self and other.
That's right. And I believe we are touching. We are touching with our minds. We're touching each other with our voices.
Right. And this medium is learning. To me, it's a way of actually actualizing, in a way, the virtual that was used through imagination in past history.
That's right.
Does that make sense?
It makes a whole lot of sense. And that I really appreciate, because I believe it's going back into our theater history, as we've been doing today, and dusting off this old language and making it alive. And we can still reconnect. We can still connect.
Yes. I my son just drove up. I have to go. I love you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you next time.
Bye-bye. Let me know.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. I'll see. Yeah, Bateson tomorrow. Bye-bye.
I'll see you around campus. Bye-bye. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, John.
Talk to you soon.
Oh, are you still there?